We are going to start today's lecture. Our paper is BSc Horticulture First Sem, Elementary Biochemistry and Biotechnology. And today we will discuss about some basic terminology which are used in biotechnology, especially in reference to plant tissue culture. So first and foremost term is explant. Explant is the starting material in any plant tissue culture experiment. As we have already discussed, plant tissue culture means we are taking a small plant tissue and we are growing it into a completely regenerated plant in vitro conditions. In vitro conditions means artificial conditions which we are providing in lab. And here any plant part means the material which you are taking from a ideally selected plant which is growing in your field to make a complete plant in lab. When I am saying a complete plant, that means that plant would be having all the required plant parts, roots, shoots in complete form. Then it is known as a complete plant. And explant is a starting material. It is a plant organ or an excised part which is used to initiate tissue culture. So you are taking a plant tissue and you are culturing it to make a complete plant. And which organ you can use as explant? Any plant organ you can use. It may be a leaf part, stem, meristem, shoot tip, leaf discs, bud, embryo, seed, anther, pollen, ovary, ovule, or even endosperm can be used. Now the next term is growth. What is growth? In case of plant tissue culture, when you are growing this explant in laboratory conditions, what will you use for the assessment of growth? As you know that growth is an increase in size. Whether the cells are increasing in number or the cells are increasing in the size, then it will be considered as growth. And how the growth happens? It is happening due to repeated cell divisions which are happening in this growing cell, and then there is subsequent enlargement. First the cell will multiply and then after increasing its number it will enlarge its size. So that is enlargement in the cell size that will cause the change in the cell weight. So there may be change in number or change in cell size. In either case, you will say that your cell is growing. Clear? If you have any question, you can write it and then I will clear your doubts. So now moving to the third term, that is differentiation. What is differentiation? So differentiation is the development of cells or tissues with the specific function and or the regeneration of organs or organ-like structure like pro-embryos. So in very simple word, differentiation is that when you have taken this explant, that is your plant tissue, and tissue is made up of cells. So this cell will make different organs of your plant. What are the organs of the plant? The organs of the plant are basically the roots and shoots. So when your cell is being regenerated, being made into shoots and roots, then it is known as differentiation. And these shoots and roots have specific function. Shoots you can count. the number of leaves, how many leaf stage is there in your flask. Your plant may be at 2 leaf stage, 3 leaf stage, 4, 5 and so on. And if you are not going into shoot and root pathway, then you may go another pathway, that you are converting your cells into embryo-like structure. What does the embryo do in the plants? The embryo is present in the seed. So whenever you are these pro-embryos, so what you can do when you are converting these cells into embryo-like structure, what is embryo's function? It is present in the seed, and when you are making a plant from that seed, that means you are sowing the seed into the soil. So embryo will germinate, and this embryo has two parts. One is plumule and other is radicle. Plumule takes part in shoot development and radicle takes part in root development. So when you are sowing the seed, shoots and roots will be developing simultaneously from that seed due to the presence of embryo. Wherever in case of tissue culture, here what we are doing regeneration of organs in systematic manner. That means first we will do the formation of shoot with the help of some hormones, specific hormones. We will be discussing it later. And then once the plant is having well developed shoots, then we will transfer these shoots onto a specific nutrient medium that is suitable for root induction of that shoot. Then we will go for root development. So what is the difference in these two pathways? We have two routes, one via regeneration of organs, that is known as organogenesis, and second is by formation of embryo-like structure, which is known as embryogenesis. Since we are taking the plant part of somatic type, so it is also known as somatic embryogenesis. So what is main difference here? We are making the cells to develop into organs, and here we are making the cells to develop into embryo-like structure. So here shoots and root development will help in sequential manner. Whereas in embryogenesis, the root and shoot development will happen simultaneously. That is the main difference in organogenesis and somatic embryogenesis. So that's how we do the differentiation. Differentiation, making this cell to develop into different parts of the plant. That is known as differentiation. Next is the phenomena of mature cells reverting to a meristematic state and forming undifferentiated callus tissue is termed as de-differentiation. So what is now de-differentiation? D means no. So what you are doing here? You are finishing this differentiation. So that means you are nullifying the differentiation. Then it is known as de-differentiation. So how you do it? You are converting your cells into forming a callus tissue. So what is a callus? You are taking mature cells, that means the egg plant, then you are reverting to a meristematic state. Now what is a meristematic state? Meristematic state is highly dividing state of a cell. When the cell is at its most active stage, it is in the highest cell division of that cell. And here what are you doing? You are taking these cells, then you are like 2,4-D. 2,4-D full form is 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. So this 2,4-D is helping us to make a callus. Now what is a callus? As it is explained here, it is undifferentiated. That means your cells are just dividing and dividing. They are not being differentiated into different organs. You cannot identify, you cannot differentiate. This is stem of the plant. It is a mass of cells. Which type of cells? Actively dividing and non-differentiated cells. Then this tissue is known as callus, and this process is known as de-differentiation. So you have converted a differentiated explant into a non-differentiated callus, and this process will be known as de-differentiation. Clear, or any question in this? So we have explained explant, growth and differentiation. Moving on to the next slide. So next terminology is redifferentiation. Now what is this redifferentiation? It is the ability of component cells of the callus. So we are moving to the next stage. Where were we earlier? Earlier we were on to the de-differentiation. So now from de-differentiation to the next stage, that is redifferentiation. So this callus, which is composed of a number of cells. So the ability of component cells of this callus to differentiate into a whole plant or a plant organ is termed as redifferentiation. Here the term is re. In place of D, it is a re here. So re means again differentiation. So you are forcing yourself, or you are making yourself to go into a process of differentiation again. So in the previous step, you were sending yourself into a non-differentiated state that you know as the name of callus. And here again, you are making your cells, callus cells, to differentiate into different plant parts, where you can see the different plant parts such as roots, shoots, leaves and stems. So this process of making plant organs, these are plant organs. So these plant organs, when they are made, these plant organs, when they are made from the callus tissue, so it is known as the process of redifferentiation. So explant to callus is dedifferentiation. Callus to shoot or root or any plant organ is redifferentiation. And these two processes in combination, dedifferentiation plus redifferentiation, makes a process incomplete in whole, that is cytodifferentiation. So cytodifferentiation is that process of plant cell which makes regeneration of plants from any explant in artificial conditions possible. And it has two parts. One is dedifferentiation and second is redifferentiation. If you have any query in this, please go ahead and ask. So here is the callus, and this callus may be defined as an unorganized mass of loosely arranged parenchymatous tissue which develop from parent cell due to proliferation of cells. So simply you are taking explant from the parent cell, parent plant, and that parent plant we consider it as to be an ideal plant. What is an ideal plant? That means it is growing in the best of the best conditions. It is well irrigated and it is not having any disease attack, not any insect attack. So it should be an ideal conditioned plant. And whenever we are going to take explant from this ideally selected mother plant, that mother plant should not be sprayed with any type of chemical. That is one condition. When you are doing tissue culture, it is always preferred that your selected plants from where you are collecting your material should not be sprayed with any chemical. So what chemical possibly you can spray on the plants? There are many chemicals which are sprayed on the plants for their regular maintenance and upkeep. It may be any insecticide, it may be a fungicide, it may be a herbicide, or it may be any fertilizers. So there should not be any chemical spray. Why so? Because if there is external application of any chemical on this selected plant, it may inhibit the hormonal function of that plant cells, and we and tissue culture are manipulating all these activities of hormones. So we do not want these hormonal functions to be in disturbed state. That is why we always prefer that our explants should be collected from such a mother plant which is growing in ideal conditions and not being sprayed with any chemical recently. And when I am saying recently, that means at least for 1 or 2 weeks. Next term is cellular totipotency. It is the capacity of a plant cell to give rise to a whole plant. And that is the ability of a plant cell. That's why we can do tissue culture easily as compared to animal tissue culture. That is the beauty of plant cell, that every plant cell has this capacity. Or we can say that plant cells are totipotent in nature. Every plant cell can give rise to a whole plant. And why so? Because it have a capacity of totipotency. Generally, a callus phase is involved before the cells can undergo in redifferentiation, leading to regeneration of a whole plant. It is up to you whether you can go via callus. Taking plant from the explant cells. Either you can go for direct regeneration or you can go through the callus phase, that is indirect regeneration. Bharti, am I audible? Okay, so when you are developing a plant from any explant, then You can choose any pathway depending on your convenience. It's on to your choice. Either you can go for direct regeneration or you can go for indirect regeneration. What happens in indirect regeneration? Here you will go through a callus phase. So a callus phase is involved before the cells can undergo redifferentiation. So first you will take your explant, you will develop a callus from that, and then that callus is used to regenerate a whole plant. So that's what it is done. And the dedifferentiation cells can rarely give rise to whole plant directly without an intermediate callus phase. It depends upon your plant species. It may not happen in all the plant species that you may have direct regeneration, but when you search for the literature, there are reports of species which can be regenerated directly without an intermediate callus phase. So when you are going through callus phase, it is known as indirect regeneration pathway, and when you are taking explant, then going for shoot induction, and for root induction, that is known as direct regeneration pathway. Clear? So next, growth and differentiation, although proceed together, but they are independent. Differentiation may be categorized into two groups. Either it may be structural or it may be physiological. So structural differentiation, it may be again of external type and internal type. External, most common example is root and shoot differentiation. So whenever we are developing a plant, so we want it to have a completely developed root system and shoot system. When this root and shoot system is well in place in a plant, then we can say that it is having differentiated stage. And when we say internal differentiation, it includes differentiation of various type of cell and tissues. Differentiated cells mostly occur into groups forming different type of tissues like vascular tissues. When plant is growing, then it should have development of vascular tissues in the systematic manner. Physiological differences or differentiation, the variations in the structure between root and shoots are the expression of fundamental physiological differences. If you see the structure of root and shoot, so these are of different type. Root and shoot, they have difference in their structure, in morphology, and even in their function. So such variations are known as physiological variations, which lies in the structure and function of roots and shoots. Cytodifferentiation, which we were just discussing, that cytodifferentiation means in both cases, in plants and animals, specialized cells perform different functions. As you know that shoots mainly having leaves, so leaves are the site of photosynthesis. Plants are autotroph, so they need these leaves to perform photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the basic and the most necessary process which is happening in plants. So it happens in the presence of sunlight with the help of chlorophyll. So what plants do, they trap the sunlight and convert CO2 and H2O into C6H12O6, that is known as carbohydrate or sugar molecule. So this photosynthetic process is producing metabolites in the plants. That means the generation of food for the plant, and again plants are also acting as food source for animal also. So that's why these are very, very important in function for the plants also and for animals also. Whereas the roots have different functions. The roots absorb minerals, nutrition and water from the soil, and then this whole mineral nutrition and water is pumping into the whole plant system to perform all the metabolic activities. So this specialization is important for plant structure and function, and this is known as cytodifferentiation. The cells in the callus are always parenchymatous in nature. You must have studied that there are different type of cells in the plant. They may be collenchyma, sclerenchyma, but here in callus, the cells are parenchymatous in nature. The differentiation of these cells into a variety of cells is required during redifferentiation of the cells into whole plants, and this is known as cytodifferentiation. For example, is vascular tissue differentiation, and vascular tissues are xylem and phloem. So you know that xylem and phloem, they have very important function which is required to be in place for the plant's own maintenance and the growth. Clear, or any question is there? Okay. So next term is organogenic differentiation. When you are doing tissue culture, this is very important that you do organogenic differentiation, because you want to produce a complete plant through tissue culture. So there are different steps in this process in organogenic differentiation. How will you proceed? It is again up to you. There are some basic principles to it, but the method, the process when you are doing it, it differs from individual to individual, plant to plant and species to species. For the regeneration of whole plant from cell or callus tissue, cytodifferentiation is not enough, and there should be differentiation leading to shoot, bud and embryo formation. That means again the thing which we have already discussed, either there should be organogenesis or there should be embryogenesis. So there either should be shoot formation or there should be embryo-like structure formed from your explant. So these two things are very important when you are going for organogenic differentiation. When you are making directly shoots from the explant or callus, it is known as organogenesis. And when you are making embryo from that explant or callus, that is known as embryogenesis. And since you are developing these embryos from somatic part of the plant, so this is known as somatic embryogenesis. So this may occur either through organogenesis or somatic embryogenesis. So I hope these two terms are clear to you. One is organogenesis and second term is somatic embryogenesis. So why these two processes? Organogenesis means formation of organs. So what organs? Either shoot or root. So that is the organogenesis, and somatic embryogenesis is formation of embryos. And since we are developing these embryos from somatic cells, so the process is known as somatic embryogenesis. What is the difference here? In organogenesis, the formation of shoot and root will take place in a sequential manner. First, normally we develop shoots from the eggplant, and after the development of proper healthy shoots, we go for root development from those shoots. So that is organogenesis in a sequence. And in somatic embryogenesis, the callus is made to form the embryo-like structures, which are known as somatic embryos. And then these somatic embryos are used to develop root and shoot at the same time, at the simultaneous time. So that is the main difference in these two processes, organogenesis and somatic embryogenesis. Organogenesis refers to the process by which the explant's tissues or cells can be induced to form root and the shoot and even whole plant. In other words, formation of organs is called organogenesis. That is a formation of organs. It is called as organogenesis. And this may be categorized into two groups. Which two groups are there? So one is rhizogenesis and second is known as conogenesis. Genesis is simple. What is formation? So rhizogenesis is the process of root formation and conogenesis is the process of shoot initiation. Next slide. Any question in this? So here is your somatic embryogenesis. Now you can see it here. It is development of embryos from somatic cells in culture whose structure is similar to zygotic embryos found in seeds. And they are with analogous embryonic organs like cotyledons or cotyledonary leaves. So what are zygotic embryos? You might have studied about the fertilization in plants. So how does it happen? In plants, you see the flower. The flower has the reproductive organs in the plants. It has the pollens. Pollen grains are there, which are numerous in number, and then there is stigma, that is the receptive surface where pollen grain will land. So the plant which is donating the pollen grain is considered as male parent, and the plant which is developing seed, that is female parent, or also known as seed parent. Pollen grain comes to stigma. It sticks to stigma where pollen grain germination will take place. When pollen grain germination starts, it starts the development of a pollen tube. The pollen nucleus will divide. And then with the help of pollen tube elongation, this pollen grain or pollen nucleus, it will just look here. Okay, this is the procedure. So after germination of this pollen tube through the micropyle, this will reach to the embryo sac. And embryo sac, as you know, it has different type of cells and it is a 8-cell structure. It has the egg nucleus, and when this pollen nucleus will go there, fusion of nucleus will happen, and after the fusion of nucleus, it is known as double fertilization in angiosperm. endosperms, and there will development of a zygote that is diploid in nature and development of endosperm that is triploid in nature. 2n will be zygote, endosperm will be 3n. So what is the function of embryo and endosperm? Embryo is a progenitor of the next plant and endosperm is acting as food reserve. And these are the different developmental stages in the development of embryo. It is same in zygotic and somatic embryos. So these are different stages in the embryo development. This is heart shape. And here, when you develop these somatic embryos in lab, they look like this. These are the somatic embryos which have been developed from the callus. And they are exactly similar to the zygotic embryos. Like this is a globular structure, you can see the globular shape, and this is heart shape, you can see the heart shape here. So at different stages of development, their shape may be different as it happens in case of zygotic embryos. So somatic embryogenesis is development of embryos from somatic cells in culture, that means in tissue culture in lab conditions, and their structure is similar to zygotic embryos which are found in seeds. So next process, one more term that we use in plant tissue culture is a type of culture that is seed culture. If we categorize the plant tissue culture in different parts, it is done based on the type of explant which we are taking to start our experiment. So one most primarily used is seed culture. In this type of culture, as you can understand, the explant taken is seed. So here you can see the example of orchids. Orchids are ornamental plant. They bear very beautiful flowers and they have a very big market of cut flowers. These orchid cut flowers are mostly exported. They are used in various ornamental purposes. So you can see the orchid seeds here. They are just, this is a capsule of mature plant of orchid and it is filled with these seeds. They are just like pollen grains. They are very minute in size. So what is the significance of size of a seed? This is a capsule which is on the orchid plant and this is the seeds which are present inside the capsules. So when you put these seeds onto the medium, the seed plant development from the seed starts. These are the orchid plants which are being developed from these seeds in tissue culture and later it has been transferred here into the soil. And this is how the callus looks. It is callus culture taken from seed. So when you know that you can grow seeds as such in soil, it is very easy. You don't need any expertise or skills to sow seeds in the soil. What you have to do, you will take soil, you will prepare a pot, you will make a soil mix, pour that soil mix into the pot, sow your seeds and just water these seeds, and what will happen? Your seeds will start germination and you will have a plant. When you can are you growing them with the help of tissue culture. Because here in tissue culture, you know that there it is expensive as compared to normal conventional cultivation practices. The tissue culture is expensive. How it is expensive? In this particular operation, you have to set up a lab. When you are setting up a lab, you will require instruments and you will require chemicals. So that will be expensive. And then you will need a person who is trained enough to do tissue culture. So now, after doing your 12th class, are you trained enough to do tissue culture? For this, at least you will need a graduate who has taken a formal training in plant tissue culture. So then again, that would also be expensive to hire a skilled person to do tissue culture. So when it is so expensive, why are you growing seeds via tissue culture? That may be a question. As you can see here, the size of orchid seeds is very, very small. And what is the significance of seed size in the germination? As I have already mentioned that in case of seed size, the seed has two functions. It is having two parts. One is embryo and another is endosperm. So embryo is there, that's why the seed is germinating. But if seed size is smaller, that means the endosperm is smaller in size. And what is the function of endosperm? Endosperm gives rise food reserve and it gives energy to the germinating embryo. So that means energy reserve or food reserve is low. So what does the orchid seed do for its survival in nature? In nature, this orchid seed germinates in symbiotic association with the fungus. So if that particular fungus is not present in the environment during the seed germination of orchid plant, then what will happen? The orchid seed will not be able to germinate and your plants will not be developing. That's why orchid seeds are germinated by tissue culture, by doing seed culture when you are growing orchids at commercial level. So that is the significance of seed culture. Next type of culture is callus culture. So first of all, this callus culture, here it is shown in carrot plant. Carrot, botanical name is Daucus carota. So here you can see you have selected this carrot and from this carrot you will take explant. After this, taking this explant, you are washing it with Bevistine. What is Bevistine? Bevistine is a fungicide. Since your plant is growing in open area in your field conditions, so it may be having dust, it may be having microbes, there may be any specific disease pathogen on your plant. So what you do, whenever you grow your plant via tissue culture, you always want to make sure that there should not be any microbe or plant pathogen on your explant because you want your plant material to be disease free. To make it sure, what you do, you treat your explant with a number of chemicals to make it free from dust and pathogens. So dust can be removed easily with the help of a soap. So the soap which we use in lab is normally a mild one. So any liquid soap is used. And then if your plant is having specifically fungus infection, then you can treat it with the fungicide, that is a Bevistine is one example. Either you can use any sterilant for the sterilization of your explant. It may be alcohol, it may be sodium hypochlorite, or it may be mercury chloride. So it is not necessary to treat your explant with all these one by one. You can choose any one of these and then you keep your explant for a time period, specific time period. It may be 5 minutes, 10 minutes like that, or 15 minutes, and then you just wash your explant with sterilized distilled water. And this whole operation is carried out in sterile conditions. So in lab, you have a specific working area which is specially for sterile work area, that is laminar airflow cabinet. So this whole work is carried out inside laminar airflow cabinet. Now you have your sterilized, surface sterilized explant pieces, and then these explant pieces are inoculated. What is the meaning of inoculation? This is a new term, inoculation. Inoculation is very simple. Here in this bottle you can see this is your nutrition medium, and this nutrition medium is fed, then you transfer these explant pieces onto this nutrition medium. So this is known as inoculation. After inoculation, there is one more term, that is incubation. That means this culture flask will be kept at optimum conditions. What optimum conditions? Your plant growth requires some specific temperature to be maintained. So in tissue culture lab, the specific temperature that is maintained is 25 plus minus 2 degrees. So with the help of air conditioners or heaters, room heaters, you can maintain this temperature. And if your plant has some specific requirements, some plants require very low temperature, accordingly you can maintain that temperature. And then second requirement will be a photo period. Photo period is day length. As you know that in plant growth and flowering, photo period also play a very important role. So here you also maintain that required photo period length. So how it is maintained? It is maintained by white lights installing in the lab. So when you switch on the lights, that is done normally in daytime. So that is your day length, and in night you will switch off all the lights in the culture room. That will be acting as like night time for the plant growth. So photo period and temperature, these two things have to maintain. All the conditions when you are doing plant tissue culture needs to be sterile, free from pathogens. This is very important. So now after incubation, your explants will be forming callus. And that callus is, what is a callus? Callus is actively dividing undifferentiated cell mass. Type of callus may be depending upon the arrangement of cells with each other. If the cells are loosely arranged, then the callus is known as friable callus. And second type of callus is compact callus. So these are two type of callus, friable callus and compact callus. Friable callus is when the cells in the callus are loosely arranged. You just shake them and they will come off. But in case of compact callus, the cells are joined with each other. They are very compactly packed. It is not easy to separate such cells. And second categorization of callus can be done depending upon the color. If you are keeping your callus into the dark condition, then it will be white or pale in color. If you are keeping a callus in light conditions, then it is sufficient white light, then your callus will be greenish in color. And if your plant from where you are doing your callus culture produces some specific pigments like anthocyanins or some other pigments, then your callus may have some pigments also. This callus can be used to do suspension culture. So suspension culture, very easy. You take this callus, suspend it into liquid medium and shake it with the help of a shaker. So when you shake it, what will happen? By shaking mechanism, you are exerting a pressure onto the callus. The cells will be loosened up and they will be suspended into the liquid medium. So this type of culture is known as cell suspension culture. And from these cells, you can make a new plant also. So that is a callus culture. Explant, sterilization of the explant, inoculation, and then after incubation, you will have callus formation. The callus can be used to make cell suspension culture or to make a new plant. Okay.